Seditious conspiracy charges have been filed against the Oath Keepers leader and several other members of the far-right group. The charges against Steward Rhodes are the highest that have been filed in connection to the January 6th Capitol insurrection. They come amid questions over whether former President Trump can be charged for his role in the attack. For more, let's bring in CBS News senior investigative correspondent Catherine Herridge. Hi there, Catherine. So Oath Keepers leader Steward Rhodes and 10 others have been charged with seditious conspiracy for their role in the January 6th attack. What are the new allegations?
Elaine, according to the 48-page indictment, the Oath Keepers used two military-style stack formations to breach the Capitol on January 6th. And once inside, prosecutors alleged the group split in two, one heading towards the Senate chamber, where the Electoral College was being certified, and then a second towards the House in search of House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. It's also alleged in the indictment that they had on standby a QRF, or quick reaction force, to bring in personnel as well as weapons. And all of this goes to the central allegation that there was coordination and premeditation among these members of the Oath Keepers. It's important to recognize that this is the first time we've seen Rhodes identified in a criminal complaint. Up until now, he's only been referred to as Person 1, and legal experts believe this is an indication, or maybe an indication, that there are now cooperating witnesses in the case, Elaine.
Well, we know that many individuals and groups charged in the Capitol assault are pointing to Donald Trump as their motivation for acting that day. Does the January 6th committee have enough evidence of wrongdoing to bring charges against the former president?
Based on our reporting here at CBS News, the January 6th committee is very focused on this 180-minute window on the afternoon of January 6th, beginning with the first breach of the Capitol perimeter just around 1 p.m., then closing out with the video statement from President Trump where he told his followers, "I can feel your pain, but it's time to go home and it's time to end the violence." The committee's trying to understand whether the lack of action during that window constitutes to aiding and abetting the rioters. But if you read through these indictments, as we have here at CBS News, it's really a somewhat mixed or confused picture. In the case of the sedition charge against the Oath Keepers, it's alleged their leader, Rhodes, wrote on encrypted messaging that he was tired of Trump complaining, and he did not believe President Trump would take any action. So he said the patriots would take matters into their own hands. But you look at other indictments, and the individuals clearly state on social media that they believe they're coming to Washington and acting violently at the behest of then President Trump, Elaine.
Catherine, I also want to ask you about that situation in Texas. We heard Monday from the rabbi who was held for hours with 3 other hostages at his synagogue in Texas. Let's listen to that.
The last hour or so of the standoff, he wasn't getting what he wanted. He was getting, it didn't look good. It didn't sound good. We were terrified.
Catherine, what are we learning about the suspect and his entry into the U.S.?
Well, Elaine, I just want to emphasize that this is a highly fluid investigation, so we're getting new information sometimes by the hour. But based on a law enforcement source, we're told that Akram arrived in the United States at JFK International on or about December 29th. Then he stayed in a series of cheap motels, ultimately homeless shelters, and made his way down to the Texas area. They're trying to understand whether he flew or he took some sort of land route, and whether he had help on the way, and ultimately how did he obtain the weapon that was used in that hostage standoff.
Well, authorities have arrested 2 people in the UK in connection to that hostage situation. Catherine, what do we know about their connection to the incident?
Well, a law enforcement source also tells CBS News that the 2 who have been questioned and detained in the UK are, in fact, Akram's teenage sons, and they're trying to understand whether Akram had contact with his children before or during the hostage standoff, and whether they can shed any light on his intent and motivation, whether he was acting alone, sort of a classic lone wolf situation, or whether it may have been part of a broader conspiracy, but we haven't seen that kind of evidence to date.
Well, police say the hostage taker was demanding the release of federal prisoner. What do we know about Afia Siddiqui?
Well, I covered Siddiqui's trial here in the United States about a decade ago, and she has this nickname, Lady al-Qaeda, for good reason. Terrorism analysts say that she had deep connections to al-Qaeda. She was someone who was referred to by the number 2 within the organization, and it's been widely reported that she had a personal connection to Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, who was the architect of 9/11. But what is not in dispute is that when she was picked up in Afghanistan, agents went through what they describe as pocket litter, and that's what law enforcement calls the kind of information that's on the suspect's body, like in their pockets. So their phone, any pieces of paper, any notes, any computer thumb drives. And they look at this information, and in her case, what they found were plots, not only dirty bomb plots inside the United States, the targeting of the Empire State Building, also the Brooklyn Bridge. So she is someone who they say was not only sort of international in her character and terrorist ties, but also domestic in her ability and willingness to go after targets inside the United States. And the reason all of this matters is that there's been a significant movement outside the United States to free Siddiqui, and investigators want to understand whether Akram was part of this movement in any way, or whether he was simply someone who was unstable and acting on his own.
It's sobering, though, to hear about those details. Catherine Herridge, Catherine, thanks as always. We
You're
appreciate
welcome.
it.